Welcome back to Mailbox Corner, the podcast where we dive deep into the mysteries of online shopping. I'm your host, Jake, and with me is the ever-curious Emily. Today, we're tackling a topic that's puzzled many an online shopper, the dreaded restricted item, battery item status on AliExpress. Emily, have you ever encountered this one?
Oh, absolutely, Jake. And let me tell you, it's as baffling as it sounds. You order something exciting, track its journey across the globe, and then bam, you're hit with processing delay at sorting center, followed by restricted item, battery item. It's enough to make anyone scratch their head in confusion.
Exactly, Emily. And that's why we're here today, to unravel this mystery for our listeners. So what does restricted item, battery item actually mean? And more importantly, does it spell doom for your eagerly awaited package?
Great questions, Jake. This tracking status essentially flags your item as an electronic product, which means it requires further inspection before it can continue on its journey. But here's the kicker. Just because your item gets this status, it doesn't necessarily mean it has a battery.
Interesting. So it's like a precautionary measure from AliExpress's side to classify most electronics as potentially having batteries, right? That must cause some delays.
Exactly, Jake. And it's not just any delay. This status tends to linger especially after AliExpress notifies you of a processing delay at the sorting center. It seems like they're extra cautious with electronics, possibly due to safety concerns with batteries during transport.
That makes sense, considering the risks involved with shipping batteries, especially lithium ones. But Emily, this leads to another question. Why doesn't my package move from restricted item, battery item for days, sometimes even longer?
Well, Jake, when AliExpress identifies your package as electronic, they often set it aside to focus on items that don't require as much inspection. The backlog of packages needing inspection can grow, especially during peak shopping times like Black Friday or Chinese New Year. Plus, if your package is being sorted in major processing centers, it could take even longer.
So, it's a bit of a waiting game then. But what happens if they determine the electronic product doesn't actually have a battery, or if it does, but it's within the allowed capacity for planes and legal in your country?
In those cases, Jake, they allow the package to continue its journey towards the departure transport hub. However, if the item has a lithium battery beyond what's allowed, or it's illegal in your country, it's sent back to the sender. Sometimes, though, even if everything checks out, the inspection process itself can cause delays. Calls to airlines and your country might be necessary before anything progresses.
It sounds like there are quite a few hoops to jump through. But what about when a package simply can't come to your country because of its battery?
That's when AliExpress decides it's best to send the item back to the sender's warehouse, Jake. There's no point in trying to ship it if it can't go through the line haul office in your country. And if AliExpress sends your item back, you might not see any new updates past restricted item, battery item.
Got it. So if AliExpress sends an item back because of battery issues, what should our listeners do?
If that happens, AliExpress will process a refund for you. But, and this is important, their systems don't always capture when a refund should automatically be done. If you don't see an automatic refund shortly after the update, it's recommended to ask for a refund after 2 weeks.
That's a valuable tip, Emily. And I've heard that some sellers try to bypass these restrictions by creating new tracking numbers and repackaging the items with several resistors to get them through screening. Have you heard about that?
Yes, Jake, that's true. By doing so, sellers hope the package will make it to you on the second try. It shows how important it is for senders to know how to ship electronic packages correctly to avoid these complications. Otherwise, refunds become a common resolution.
Listeners, have you ever faced the restricted item, battery item status on AliExpress? How did you handle it? Share your stories with us on social media or through our podcast platform. We'd love to hear from you.
And if you're curious about navigating the complexities of online shopping, stay tuned. We've got plenty more insights and tips to share. Until next time, happy shopping.
That's really insightful, Emily. It seems like a complex process, but it's good to know there are steps in place for both safety and compliance. Now, I'm curious, what happens if the package does make it through all these hurdles? Is there anything else our listeners should be aware of?
Well, Jake, if your package successfully navigates through these inspections and is deemed safe to proceed, it's essentially back on track for delivery. However, the journey doesn't end there. Remember, the seller might try to resend the package with modifications if it was initially sent back. This means the tracking status could update again, and you might finally receive your item, albeit after some delay.
So, patience is key in these situations. It sounds like dealing with restricted item, battery item statuses requires a bit of understanding and a lot of waiting, but it's reassuring to know that there are mechanisms in place to ensure safety and legality.
Absolutely, Jake. And it's worth mentioning that staying informed about the shipping policies of your country and the specific requirements for electronic items can also help manage expectations. Knowing the ins and outs can save a lot of confusion and frustration down the line.
Great advice, Emily. It's all about being proactive and informed. Well, folks, that wraps up our discussion on the restricted item, battery item status on AliExpress. But don't go anywhere just yet. We've got more intriguing topics to cover in today's episode. Stay with us.